A single day can transform everything. It might sound almost too simple, too fleeting, or even impossible, but the truth is that monumental change often begins not with years of planning or endless preparation, but with a single, deliberate decision made in one decisive moment. That day, the one you choose to commit to your own life, has the power to redirect your entire trajectory, to open doors you didn't even know existed, and to challenge every limitation you've unconsciously accepted. When we look back at people who have fundamentally changed their lives, what stands out isn't that they waited for perfect conditions. It's that they recognized a single day as enough to ignite momentum. The real magic of a single day lies in its intimacy and focus. Unlike long stretches of time, which can overwhelm and scatter intention, one day allows you to center all your energy on what truly matters. It's a clean slate, a concentrated opportunity to examine your life, identify what's holding you back, and commit to actions that align with your deepest aspirations. One day, approached with intention, becomes a laboratory for transformation where experimentation, courage, and clarity converge. It is in this narrow window of focus that monumental shifts quietly begin. A day carries with it a kind of immediacy that is hard to ignore. When you tell yourself, "I will start today," the word "today" carries a power that no distant future can match. It forces action, removes excuses, and demands presence. Today is a day you can't postpone, and that makes it infinitely valuable. A single 24-hour period may seem insignificant in the grand scheme of life, but when harnessed properly, it can become the day that marks the end of procrastination and the beginning of a new chapter. It reminds you that time itself is a resource you either invest consciously or watch slip away. A single day can also serve as a proof of possibility. By committing fully for even one day, you demonstrate to yourself that change is not some abstract theory. It is a tangible reality you can touch, feel, and build upon. It becomes undeniable evidence that you have the power to redirect your energy, influence outcomes, and take control of the direction your life takes. Once you experience transformation on a small scale in one day, the confidence and momentum it generates begin to compound, showing that bigger changes are not only possible, they are inevitable if you continue taking deliberate action. One day can break patterns that have persisted for years. It has the potential to disrupt habits, beliefs, and routines that no longer serve you. In one day, you can make choices that contradict every excuse you've ever told yourself. Choices that challenge the story you've been living and open the door to a story you've always dreamed of. By consciously deciding to use a single day as a pivot point, you signal to yourself and to the world that you are willing to step into discomfort, embrace growth, and reject the inertia that keeps most people stuck. The beauty of a single day is that it is entirely yours to define. You can choose its purpose, its focus, and its impact. It allows you to act without the weight of accumulated failures or the fear of an uncertain future. One day is a concentrated test of commitment, a contained experiment in personal courage and clarity. It challenges you to strip away distractions, to stop waiting for external validation, and to center your energy on what will create lasting results. Every choice made in that day becomes amplified because it carries the intensity of concentrated attention. A single day also provides the space for reflection and course correction. In that day, you can examine your life honestly, evaluate the paths you've taken, and confront the patterns that have limited your growth. The decisions you make are immediate, but their reverberations extend far beyond those 24 hours. This day becomes a microcosm of transformation, where small shifts in thought and action ripple outward to influence every subsequent day. By dedicating a day to self-awareness and intentional action, you create a template for sustainable change that can be replicated indefinitely. It is often in one day that courage is forged. When we recognize the potential of a single day to shape the rest of our lives, fear begins to lose its grip. The act of showing up, Choosing and acting with purpose for one full day cultivates bravery. You start to see that courage is not a permanent state, but a series of decisions made in moments, and that a single day can contain enough of those moments to transform your outlook, your confidence, and your sense of agency. A single day is also a test of priorities. In that day, you are forced to confront what matters most and what you've been tolerating for too long. The decisions you make reflect your true values, and for once there is no time to defer or dilute them. It compels you to ask hard questions. Am I living according to my own design, or am I letting life happen to me? By consciously choosing to spend even one day acting in alignment with your priorities, you create a tangible benchmark that illustrates what your life could look like if you committed fully every day thereafter. Finally, the power of a single day lies in its simplicity. It doesn't require perfection, grand gestures, or monumental achievements. It only requires presence, intention, and a willingness to act. One day can be enough to start rewriting your narrative, to plant the seeds of transformation, and to generate momentum that carries forward indefinitely. When you embrace the truth that even a single day holds the potential to change everything, you begin to see life not as a slow accumulation of time, but as a series of opportunities, each one capable of redirecting your journey if only you choose to act. Too many people spend their lives waiting. Waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for the perfect conditions, waiting for a sign from the universe, or waiting until fear no longer whispers in their ears. They convince themselves that timing is everything, that change must be carefully orchestrated, and that the stars must align before they can step forward. But the truth is that waiting is often the enemy of progress. Life doesn't pause for anyone. The longer you wait, the more opportunities slip quietly past, unnoticed, leaving only regret in their wake. The illusion of the right time creates a false sense of security. People imagine that if they delay, things will eventually fall into place, that circumstances will magically become more favorable. But this is rarely the case. The perfect moment is a myth. Conditions will never be flawless, resources will never be abundant, and fear will never completely vanish. Waiting for these things only prolongs inaction and reinforces the habits that keep people stuck in cycles of mediocrity. Real transformation happens when you act despite the uncertainty, not because it has disappeared. Waiting also allows fear to grow. Each day spent hesitating reinforces self-doubt, builds inertia, and strengthens the walls that prevent you from moving forward. The longer you wait, the more you allow the internal narrative of limitation to take root. Fear thrives in indecision, feeding on excuses and rationalizations. But action, even imperfect action, disrupts that cycle. Once you begin, the energy that fear had consumed is redirected toward progress, and hesitation loses its grip. One choice, one moment of courage, can start dismantling years of delay. People often underestimate the cost of waiting. They think of time as something infinite, something that can be recaptured, but the reality is that time is irretrievable. Every day spent waiting is a day that could have been invested in building skills, creating connections, pursuing passions, or shaping a life aligned with your values. The consequences of delay compound silently, like interest accumulating on debt. And while waiting may feel safe in the moment, it gradually erodes the potential for fulfillment and achievement. Waiting also robs life of its vitality. There is a unique energy that comes from decisive action, from stepping into the unknown and embracing the challenges ahead. When you wait, you deny yourself this energy. You remain stagnant while the world moves around you, witnessing others seize opportunities and transform their lives while your own aspirations gather dust. The right time never comes because it is not an external condition. It is a state of readiness you cultivate through action. When you stop waiting, you reclaim power over your own life. The decision to act now, regardless of uncertainty, puts you in the driver's seat. You become the architect of your future rather than a passive observer of circumstances. Action, even in small steps, generates momentum, confidence, and clarity. Each choice you make reinforces the truth that the only moment you truly control is the present, and that your future is shaped not by perfect timing, but by consistent, deliberate effort. Waiting also clouds judgment. When you insist on perfect conditions, you often overanalyze and overthink, creating a paralysis by analysis that stifles creativity and risk-taking. Opportunities appear, but fear and hesitation prevent you from recognizing them or acting on them. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to distinguish genuine opportunity from imagined obstacles. By committing to act now, you sharpen your awareness, refine your decision-making, and train yourself to move decisively when possibilities arise. The truth is that the right time is always now. Life is happening in every moment, whether you choose to engage with it or not. Waiting does not postpone challenges, obstacles, or difficulties. It simply delays your progress in overcoming them. Every step forward, no matter how small, moves you closer to your goals, builds resilience, and creates a sense of agency. Inaction, on the other hand, guarantees stagnation, regret, and the persistence of circumstances you wish to change. The longer you wait, the more excuses you generate. People convince themselves that they need more preparation, more resources, more experience, or more certainty. These excuses sound rational, but they are disguises for fear. Action reveals clarity, courage, and capability. The process of starting, even imperfectly, teaches lessons waiting could never provide. Momentum begins not when conditions are ideal, but when you stop waiting and start doing. Every successful transformation begins with a decision to move now. Waiting delays life, action accelerates it. Progress, growth, and fulfillment are not contingent on perfect timing. They are contingent on your willingness to act despite imperfection, doubt, or uncertainty. By stopping the endless cycle of waiting, you open the door to opportunities that were previously invisible and begin to live a life defined by purpose, courage, and momentum. Self-reflection is one of the most powerful tools you have, yet it is often overlooked or undervalued. We rush through life, reacting to external events, chasing goals, and trying to keep up with expectations, all while rarely stopping to examine who we truly are and what we truly want. The process of pausing, looking inward, and asking honest questions about your thoughts, actions, and motivations is the spark that can ignite profound transformation. Without reflection, you drift, repeating patterns and behaviors that no longer serve you, unaware that a small moment of insight could redirect your entire path. Self-reflection allows you to identify what is holding you back. By taking the time to analyze your decisions, habits, and priorities, you begin to see where you are settling, where fear is dictating your choices, and where you are tolerating mediocrity disguise. As comfort, it exposes the gaps between your current reality and the life you aspire to live. Often, the obstacles that feel external are actually internal, rooted in beliefs, assumptions, or habits that you have unconsciously carried forward. Recognizing these internal barriers is the first step toward dismantling them. When you reflect deeply, you gain clarity about your purpose. Life can feel chaotic, overwhelming, and directionless when you are moving without awareness. Reflection gives you the opportunity to step back, observe your life objectively, and assess what truly matters. It allows you to distinguish between what you are doing because you have to, because others expect it, or because it is convenient, and what aligns with your authentic goals and values. This clarity is the compass that guides every meaningful decision and action. Self-reflection also cultivates accountability. When you honestly examine your actions, it becomes impossible to blame circumstances or other people for where you are. You begin to see patterns in your choices, moments where you could have acted differently, and opportunities you have allowed to pass. This recognition is not meant to induce guilt, but to empower you. By acknowledging your role in shaping your life, you reclaim responsibility and gain the authority to make changes that matter. Reflection provides perspective. In the midst of daily routines and challenges, it is easy to feel trapped or overwhelmed. By intentionally stepping back and evaluating your experiences, you gain a broader view of your life. You can see the connections between past decisions, present circumstances, and future possibilities. This perspective allows you to identify opportunities, anticipate challenges, and make more deliberate, thoughtful choices rather than reacting impulsively or habitually. The process of self-reflection enhances emotional intelligence. Understanding your own emotions, triggers, and thought patterns allows you to respond rather than react. It deepens your awareness of how your mindset affects your actions, your relationships, and your outcomes. When you reflect, you begin to recognize recurring thought patterns, limiting beliefs, and unhelpful habits. This awareness is the foundation for replacing them with behaviors that serve growth, resilience, and fulfillment. Reflection also strengthens focus. In a world filled with distractions and noise, taking time to pause and evaluate what is truly important helps you allocate energy toward high-impact actions. You begin to see where your attention has been wasted, where effort has been misdirected, and where you can concentrate for maximum effect. This heightened focus allows you to make measurable progress in areas that genuinely contribute to your personal and professional growth. Self-reflection fosters growth by encouraging experimentation and learning. When you examine your successes and failures with honesty, you uncover lessons that are otherwise invisible. You see what worked, what didn't, and why. This iterative process allows you to adjust strategies, refine approaches, and continuously improve. Reflection transforms mistakes into insights and setbacks into opportunities for development, turning every experience into a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Reflection also cultivates resilience. By regularly assessing your reactions, patterns, and mindset, you develop the capacity to adapt and recover from challenges more effectively. You become less dependent on external validation and more anchored in self-awareness. This inner strength allows you to navigate uncertainty, ambiguity, and difficulty with confidence, knowing that each situation is an opportunity to apply the lessons gleaned from previous reflection. Finally, self-reflection is the seed of intentional action. Awareness alone is not enough. It must lead to deliberate change. By reflecting on where you are and where you want to be, you can design specific actions that bridge the gap between the present and your aspirations. Each moment spent in honest evaluation increases the likelihood that your decisions will be aligned with your purpose and values, and sets the stage for transformative choices that ripple outward. Reshaping your life in meaningful and lasting ways, courage is often misunderstood. Many people assume it is a grand, dramatic act, something heroic that occurs rarely and only in extreme circumstances. The truth is that courage is quiet, consistent, and deeply personal. It is the choice to step into discomfort, to confront fear, and to act in alignment with your values even when the path is uncertain. Comfort, on the other hand, is seductive. It whispers promises of safety, ease, and stability, while quietly chaining you to mediocrity. Choosing courage over comfort is the bridge that connects who you are today to who you have the potential to become. Comfort creates stagnation. It lulls the mind into a false sense of security, convincing you that avoiding risk is the same as avoiding failure. Yet life does not reward avoidance. By choosing comfort, you trade potential growth for temporary ease. The longer you remain in comfort, the more your confidence erodes, the more opportunities pass unseen, and the more you convince yourself that the life you desire is unattainable. Courage disrupts this pattern by forcing you to confront uncertainty, step into the unknown, and embrace the challenge of becoming more than you are. Courage requires awareness. It begins with acknowledging the ways in which comfort has limited you, recognizing the areas where fear or complacency have dictated your choices. This recognition is uncomfortable because it shines a light on the truths we often avoid, the excuses we tell ourselves, and the compromises we have made. But this awareness is the first step toward transformation, because without seeing the constraints of comfort, courage cannot emerge. Awareness creates clarity, and clarity fuels action. Courage over comfort is a daily practice. It is not a one-time decision or a fleeting burst of motivation. Every day presents countless opportunities to choose bravery over ease, whether it is having a difficult conversation, taking a calculated risk, or pursuing a dream that feels impossible. Each small act of courage compounds, reinforcing the belief that you are capable of more than you previously imagined. The habit of courage transforms ordinary decisions into deliberate steps toward a life of fulfillment, impact, and purpose. Choosing courage requires vulnerability. It demands that you expose yourself to uncertainty, to potential failure, and to judgment from others. Vulnerability is often perceived as weakness, but it is, in fact, the doorway to authentic strength. By stepping into vulnerability, you demonstrate trust in yourself, your abilities, and the process of growth. Comfort avoids vulnerability because it is safe, but courage embraces it because it recognizes that true progress cannot exist without risk and exposure. Courage over comfort also reshapes identity. Each time you choose bravery over ease, you reinforce a self-concept of resilience, agency, and possibility. Over time, these choices redefine who you believe you are, creating a feedback loop that makes courage more natural and comfort less appealing. Identity is not fixed. It is shaped by repeated action. By consistently prioritizing courage, you sculpt a version of yourself that is bold, decisive, and capable of navigating challenges with grace. Comfort often disguises itself as rationality. People justify staying in their safe zones with logical reasoning. I'm not ready, it's too risky, or I'll try later. Courage cuts through these rationalizations. It exposes them for what they are, fear dressed in logic. Recognizing the difference between genuine prudence and comfort-driven hesitation allows you to make decisions that move you forward rather than hold you back. Courage requires discernment, but it also demands action in spite of fear. Courage inspires momentum. When you take a step that feels difficult, you generate energy, confidence, and possibility. That single act can trigger a cascade of positive change, opening doors and creating opportunities that were previously invisible. Comfort, by contrast, keeps energy stagnant, ideas dormant, and potential untapped. The act of choosing courage is like lighting a match in the darkness. It may seem small at first, but it can ignite a blaze that illuminates your path and warms the possibilities ahead. Courage over comfort is essential for long-term fulfillment. Life is filled with challenges, setbacks, and uncertainties. Comfort alone cannot sustain growth, happiness, or achievement. Only courage allows you to navigate the difficulties of life with purpose and resilience, turning obstacles into lessons and setbacks into stepping stones. By prioritizing bravery, you cultivate the habits, mindset, and experience necessary to live fully, take risks, and achieve goals that once seemed unreachable. Finally, choosing courage over comfort is the foundation of transformation. Every meaningful change, every extraordinary accomplishment, and every fulfilled dream is built on a series of courageous choices. Comfort may feel safe, but it is an illusion of security that limits potential. Courage demands presence, intention, and a willingness to face uncertainty. Yet it also delivers freedom, growth, and the possibility of a life lived at its fullest capacity. Ownership of your life begins with a simple but profound realization. You are responsible for the trajectory of your own journey. No one else holds the blueprint for your success, your happiness, or your fulfillment. It can be tempting to blame circumstances, other people, or luck for where you are. But this mindset only disempowers you. True ownership comes from acknowledging that every choice you make, every action you take, and even the way you respond to setbacks is within your control. The moment you accept this, you reclaim your power. When you take ownership, excuses lose their grip. Life is full of challenges and obstacles, but those who refuse to own their decisions give power to external forces instead of harnessing their own agency. Each time you blame circumstances, you reinforce a cycle of inaction. Ownership breaks this cycle. By choosing to see yourself as the primary architect of your outcomes, you turn challenges into opportunities, setbacks into lessons, and failures into stepping stones toward growth. Ownership demands radical honesty. You cannot take responsibility for your life without first seeing it clearly, without confronting the ways in which you may have contributed to the results you currently have. This honesty is not about self-criticism or guilt. It is about clarity and empowerment. When you assess your decisions without judgment, you gain insight into patterns, habits, and choices that have shaped your present, allowing you to intentionally design a future aligned with your aspirations. Ownership also means embracing accountability. It requires you to recognize that your thoughts, emotions, and actions are your responsibility. You cannot control everything in life, but you can control how you respond. Accountability is not a burden, it is a source of freedom. By taking responsibility for your responses, you stop surrendering power to circumstances, other people, or society's expectations. You create the space to act with intention rather than react out of habit or fear. Taking ownership transforms your mindset. When you see yourself as responsible for your own life, you shift from a victim mentality to a mindset of agency. This shift fundamentally changes the way you approach problems, opportunities, and relationships. Instead of waiting for permission, guidance, or external validation, you move with confidence, initiative, and purpose. Ownership fuels self-reliance, determination, and resilience, giving you the capacity to navigate challenges without being derailed by external forces. Ownership also requires prioritization. Life is full of distractions, obligations, and competing demands. By taking responsibility for your choices, you must decide what truly matters to you and where your energy should be invested. This act of prioritization is empowering because it forces clarity and intentionality. It ensures that your time and effort are aligned with your values, goals, and vision, rather than being scattered in response to external pressures or societal expectations. Ownership is inseparable from action. Knowledge and insight alone do not create change. Only deliberate, consistent action does. When you own your life, you recognize that waiting for someone else to act, waiting for permission, or waiting for perfect conditions is counterproductive. The power of ownership lies in translating self-awareness into tangible steps that move you toward your goals. Every action taken with intention reinforces your authority over your life and strengthens your capacity to shape your own destiny. Ownership also means embracing risk and uncertainty. Life rarely unfolds according to a predictable plan, and those who take responsibility for their outcomes must be willing to navigate the unknown. This willingness does not mean acting recklessly. It means making conscious choices despite uncertainty, understanding that failure is not the end but a source of learning. Ownership empowers you to face challenges head-on, make bold decisions, and adapt when circumstances change. Taking ownership of your life changes the way you perceive success and failure. You begin to see that success is not an external validation, but a result of consistent, intentional choices aligned with your values. Failure is no longer a reflection of inadequacy, but a feedback mechanism that informs future decisions. Ownership allows you to take full credit for achievements and to learn and adjust from setbacks, creating a continuous loop of growth, resilience, and improvement. Ultimately, ownership of your life is the foundation for freedom, fulfillment, and impact. It is the understanding that you hold the pen to your own story, that your decisions today shape the reality of tomorrow. By embracing responsibility, accountability, and intentional action, you move beyond external constraints, step into your power, and create a life that reflects your deepest aspirations and highest potential. Momentum is the invisible force that turns small actions into extraordinary results, yet it is often underestimated. One decisive step, taken with intention and focus, has the power to set an unstoppable chain reaction in motion. Momentum is not born from grand gestures or perfectly timed events. It is born from action. Each choice, no matter how seemingly insignificant, compounds over time, creating energy that propels you forward. When you act immediately, you tap into this force, transforming intention into progress and turning potential into reality. Immediate action interrupts stagnation. Waiting, hesitation, and overthinking create inertia, making it harder to start and easier to stay stuck. Momentum, by contrast, begins the moment you move. Even a single action generates a shift in energy, a tangible sense that something is happening. That first step is often the hardest, but it carries the weight of possibility. Once initiated, it becomes easier to continue, and the fear or doubt that once paralyzed you begins to diminish in the wake of progress. Taking action immediately also strengthens confidence. Every time you act decisively, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of effecting change in your own life. Momentum feeds self-efficacy, creating a positive feedback loop. The more you act, the more you trust your ability to act, and the more likely you are to continue taking bold steps. This growing confidence accelerates future actions, making seemingly impossible goals attainable through consistent, deliberate effort. Momentum multiplies impact. One action rarely exists in isolation. It triggers reactions, opens doors, and creates opportunities that were previously unseen. By acting immediately, you increase the likelihood that your efforts will intersect with resources, people, and circumstances that amplify your results. Momentum is the force that turns effort into influence, small steps into large achievements, and ideas into tangible outcomes. Immediate action combats doubt and fear. Hesitation allows uncertainty to grow, magnifying perceived obstacles and inflating risks. When you act, you remove the space for doubt to dominate. Action is a declaration to yourself and to the world that you are committed to progress, that you will not be paralyzed by fear, and that your goals matter more than your anxieties. Momentum thrives in movement, and fear loses its power when it is confronted with decisive steps. Taking action immediately creates clarity. While reflection, planning, and strategy are important, clarity is often found through doing. Action reveals what works, what doesn't, and what adjustments are needed. It transforms abstract ideas into concrete experiences and provides insight that cannot be gained from contemplation alone. Momentum allows you to learn faster, adapt quicker, and refine your approach based on real-world feedback rather than hypothetical scenarios. Momentum also fosters resilience. Each forward step, no matter how small, builds the capacity to endure setbacks, obstacles, and unexpected challenges. When you are in motion, it is easier to navigate difficulties because action creates problem-solving energy, reduces anxiety, and prevents the paralysis that comes from overthinking. Momentum transforms challenges into opportunities, setbacks into lessons, and obstacles into stepping stones, allowing growth to continue even in the face of adversity. Immediate action strengthens discipline. Waiting for the perfect conditions or the ideal moment often masks procrastination as prudence. When you commit to acting now, you train yourself to prioritize execution over hesitation. Discipline becomes habitual, reinforcing a lifestyle where momentum is generated naturally through consistent, purposeful effort. The habit of immediate action, ensures that goals are pursued with intensity and intention, rather than deferred indefinitely. Momentum encourages consistency. Action begets action, creating a rhythm of progress that sustains itself. Each completed step generates energy, motivation, and confidence for the next. Consistent forward movement, no matter how incremental, compounds over time, producing results that appear exponential. The initial act of immediate action is the ignition, and consistency ensures the momentum continues to grow, transforming short-term effort into long-term achievement. Finally, momentum is the bridge between intention and transformation. Dreams, goals, and aspirations remain inert without action, but when you act immediately, you transform possibility into reality. Momentum amplifies effort, accelerates growth, and turns small beginnings into extraordinary outcomes. It is the force that turns commitment into results, and movement into altering change, creating a pathway where every step forward carries the power to redefine your journey.